Good morning. It's getting colder out. I live in the Midwest, so we're on the way to work this morning, and it's below zero, or not below zero, below, I'm thinking Celsius. It's just below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It's was rainy, like ice rain, whatever you want to call it, last night a little bit. Not too bad, but at the same time, I'm definitely just laying the phone on my chest and talking. I am using both hands to drive. I am being very safe. All that good stuff. So don't worry about me. Anyway. So, interesting things are afoot. And this is something that I keep on seeing in the news, more so in independent channels than in mainstream channels, but there are some mainstream news outlets that are covering this, that they're feeling like the Democrats are going to be blown out in 2022. They're going to be shocked by how many of them lose their jobs as far as senators and House seats. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily foresee any kind of crazy upsets happening, because, like, here's the divide, right? It's like, if you go, like, the one thing everybody right now that as far as I can tell, is focused on is the economy. The economy is number one political issue. There's a lot of people screaming and crying on the left for the whole stuff that might be, the Roe versus Wade thing might be overturned, whatever. Or, like other social issues they're screaming about. But realistically, nobody's going to give a fuck about that. The only people who give a fuck about that are the people that make more than $60,000 a year, that don't give a shit because, if they raise the price of gas, they don't care. They still buy the gas. They don't pay attention to how much shit is on the shelves because they don't need to have a budget. Everybody, the majority of people, the working class people in America, are watching the prices for everything go up while their wages don't. That's what everyone's going to be watching. And the more the Democrats keep on sitting there trying to say, oh, well, we need to fix these social issues, and they don't look at the economy, and they're not trying to do something about the economy, or at least saying they're going to do something about the economy, they're going to lose people left and right. Not to mention they already lost a lot of people because of their takes on education and defund the police and all that shit. I mean, that hurt them pretty fucking bad. But it's an interesting thing, right? Because, like, when you think about the differential between people that have money and don't have money, you think there's like 98% of everybody that's just working and just trying to get by, and then you have the 2% of people that are in an ivory tower or that never have to worry about money. When in reality, they're the middle class of America is so big. There's so many people that, whether they live in cities or whatever, or they have high-paying jobs, they make 90, 100 grand a year. They don't care about inflation. They don't care about any of this shit. If they own a house, they already bought it and they got a fixed rate. They ain't gonna have to worry about paying more for their mortgage or anything like that. Maybe in taxes, but that's about it. These people that are like that don't work, they're not working class. They invest stuff, or they're born into money, or they went through and started their own business, that a tech business or something like that makes them $1 million a year without them even thinking about it. It's the people that money's not a problem for. They're not worried about money. They're not worried about the economy. They're worried about more social issues. That's most of the fucking kids that are out there going from protest to protest after the fact, after hours, and start burning shit down. Those are the rich kids that never have to worry about anything. So, of course, social issues are more important to them. They don't understand how economics works because they never have to experience economics in their own life. So, but for working class people, the main thing that we're all worried about is, like, I'm watching gas prices go up. I'm watching, like, say for me, I drive 45 minutes to work every morning, hence getting on here and doing a little bit of a rant podcast occasionally. I have plenty of time to do that, So it's like, but at the same time, that's 45 minutes to work and back. I cover about 60 miles a day driving. So when I see the gas prices go up, like they're like $3.30 a gallon, and they go up to $4 a gallon, my checks aren't getting bigger to get me to work, So, like, I don't get me wrong, I make decent money now. Like, if I had to guess, I'm probably in the 45 grand range, which is fine considering, my girlfriend, she makes probably about four. The messed up thing is she's a damn bartender, and she makes nearly as much money as I do, and she only works. I told her now that I have a better job, I told her to get down to where she's only working a couple days out of the week. So she was only working 2-3 days out of the week, and she's taking care of the house more, which is, she's happy and fine with that. And I'm happy and fine with that because then I can see her more. But, it's, our household income is like, it's a little around 70 grand, which is, I think the studies showed that if you're over, then this was a couple years ago, so inflation obviously has changed it a bit, but if you make over 60 grand in your household, anything more than that is just kind of like, it's play money. It's like whatever, you don't really care. That's what kind of puts you in the middle class. But we are super lower middle class. Like, we are basically just scraping the bottom of that barrel, And before I got this job, I was only making like 34 grand a year. So we were definitely in the lower class. And she actually had a worse job than I did before she started being a bartender. So before that, she worked for a gas station. She was working for minimum wage, and they weren't even giving her full-time hours. So our household income at that point was probably together, if I had to guess, it was probably close to like 50 grand, something like that. So just us making the 2 job moves that we have, that was already upped our income by like 20-30 grand a year. So it's a good thing for us, but we're still working class. We still got to get up every day. We're still paying attention to how much stuff costs because, we live poor so long. And a lot of people can probably feel me on this. If you live poor for so long where you have to be on a budget, even after you get out of not having to be on a budget, you're still watching your pennies. For a while, you're still watching your pennies. Yeah, you'll be like, oh my God, like, I ain't gonna lie. The first check that I got, because the company I work for now, I'm commission plus, or salary base plus commission. And the first like 3 months, I was getting what they call a route average. So they take the average weekly pay for everybody, all the workers, all the drivers that run the routes, and they average it out, and that's how much they gave me for a check, and we get paid weekly. And I'm used to, with my previous job, I was used to getting like $400, $450 checks a week. And the first check on route average, which means, and I have the lowest route. My route is the least paying route out because of, it's not a very busy route. Not many people buy the stuff on the route. It's a smaller town I work in, because it's 45 minutes away from the bigger town I live in. My first check, which is an average of everybody's checks, was $1,440. Like, I about crapped my pants. Like, we went out drinking that night. We gambled a little bit. We went out and had a nice steak dinner. Like you have that moment after you have a check like that. Like, yeah, we need to like celebrate a little bit because you're so used to being like worrying about money and having that pit in the bottom of your stomach, And a lot of people, I'm sure, can feel me on that. So it's like when you finally get that, it's like my checks now, they're not that high. They're like anywhere between $800 and $900. Sometimes I get $1,000. Because once a month we have to work, because I get Sundays and Wednesdays off. So once a month we have to work a Sunday and do what's called a pull-up schedule, where the busiest stores in my town we go to a spot where our truck is, or our empty truck is, and we just take that truck from store to store, and we just pull the product up and stock the back stock, and then we move on to the next one. And we're all on a rotation for that, so there's only one of our off days during the week that those stores don't get our type of service, because we have merchandisers that service our products, but it's the merchandisers, it's weird. They get basically a paid salary, 28 hours a week, which still averages out to, I think it was, or still factors out to like a little over $300 a week. They get paid. But if they get, it's salary 28 hours a week. So if they get done earlier, they still get paid the same. It doesn't matter. And finding people that will do that job and do a good job, no matter what, without just being like, well, I get paid the same, whatever. So they just kind of like, whatever, and they don't stock everything right. They don't rotate the stuff right, So those major stores that we make a lot of our money for in the district, having one of us that, we get paid a lot more to make sure that we do the job right, and they give us like $180 extra for working that one day. They give $180 extra on our check, which ain't bad. I'm hitting 13 stores that day, and you get, like, they tell you need to be done in 8 hours because there's a union dispute with, like, hey, if you're going to have us work an extra day, you need to at least keep it to 8 hours. So they you need to work 8 hours. So sometimes you do have to cut some corners here and there, depending on traffic, depending on if you have any hiccups getting into stores, because sometimes you're ringing the doorbell at 2 o'clock in the morning and nobody comes to get you for 20 minutes, type of thing. You have some hiccups, but you get through it. But yeah, that's basically my job description. But I mean, feeling on the whole working class thing, even though we have the extra money now, for a while there, for a little bit, for the first couple of weeks of me working the new job, we were going nuts a little bit because we never had that kind of money before. Neither me or my girlfriend, we never had that kind of money before. So, we went into a little bit of a rough patch, and then we were like, wait a second, we got to remember our roots. We broke motherfuckers. And, so now we're doing fine. But we still watch the prices. We still, gas up, we're seeing the gas go up. It's like the difference between me paying, $80 a week in gas to, $120 a week in gas. It's like, that's just coming out of my pocket for no reason. And I have to pay it because I have to go to work, That's a big deal. That's basically cutting my pay down from my job, So, I don't know. Either way, I think the majority of people are more worried about the economy for that reason. Because, if you're a working class person, every time the prices go up, you feel that. You feel that week to week. You feel that shit. And the problem is like, and this is what I don't get, right? So Democrats, and this is the weirdest thing, right? So like, I have always, when I was growing up, when I was more of a Democrat when I was growing up, I always heard about the Republicans being so pro-business, and they were pro-big business, and all about rich people and stuff like that. And the messed up thing is like, now Democrats are like, they're all, like, they might say tax the rich, but where did all the fucking tax loopholes come from to give the rich tax breaks in the past 15 years? They all came from Democrats. Before that, yeah, sure, they were coming from Republicans, but it's almost like in that aspect the parties switched. So it's like, I hear more Democrat supporters supporting big business nowadays, and I hear more like the Rage Against the Machine isn't Rage Against the Machine anymore. It's Rage with the machine, I guess you could say. Sick of that time. Anyway, so, but it's just weird, right? Because it's you would think like for whatever reason, it seems like the voting base for the Democrats is either really, really uninformed, poor minorities, or really middle class to rich people. And that really bothers me because, like, here's the thing. If, like, say for instance, if like Bezos is voting for a Democrat and that same Democrat wants to tax most of his income a year, I don't feel like that's right. You know what I mean? I feel like all that tax the rich shit is just a straight up lie. Because why in the fuck would any businessman? Because every single businessman, it doesn't matter who the fuck you are, every single one of you, your main focus on your business is the bottom fucking line. Okay? So if every decision that you make needs to directly help your bottom line, right? So if you're voting for somebody that actively wants to take more money away from your bottom line, that wants to take more money away from your company and your personal growth and all that, that's completely anti everything that you are trying to do. You know what I mean? That's effectively hurting your company. You know, like companies might sit there and be all about, like, you say they want equality and equity and shit like that, but in the end of the day, that is the enemy of their growth. That's the enemy of capitalism. Because if everything was equal, it wouldn't work. It would not work for capitalism to grow, because you have to have everything is a hierarchy. Every single thing in life. Like Amazon is on the top of everything for shipping and delivering. Absolute top for online shopping. Abso-fucking-lutely on the top. Right? Right. Which means there's a hierarchy. They're at the top. Other places that have tried to keep up with them, Walmart, Target, you know, other places, they're down the list. They're still up there, but they're down the list. They're not the best. Hence, there's a hierarchy there. And what your shareholders and stockholders want is to see you be the best. And if you actively take measures to not be the best, well, then they're going to be like, I don't like this, and then you're going to end up losing your job as a CEO. That's generally how capitalism works. And honestly, if you've taken the time in your life to go through the schooling, to go through the training, and all that shit, to become a businessman, to get into a Fortune 500 company, and you are all about trying to run it into the ground because it's not equitable enough, there's something wrong with your career decisions. Like, you are actively just trying to self-destruct your life, because you're going to end up getting fired. There's more people that are for capitalism that are rich that are against capitalism. So I don't believe any of these people that vote for the Democrats that say that are rich, that think that that's a good... Because here's the thing. It's either that, or they have so much money tied up in those politicians that they know they'll never, ever try to pass increased taxes on them to a point that the majority of people would want them to pay. You know? Wouldn't happen. Wouldn't happen. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. So honestly, I don't think when a Democrat sits there and says, well, we're going to tax the rich, I don't believe a fucking word that's coming out of their mouth. They don't want that, because their benefactors wouldn't want that. You know? Because here's the thing. If a rich person actually had to start worrying about money again, they'd stop worrying about all these social issues. And you see that in cultures, like, all the way down through time. It's like Rome. Rome was super fucking powerful, super set. And you had a set of elites that was just so bored that they'd have people fight each other in fucking pits because they had nothing else to do. You know? They were more worried about the drama because they were jealous of their sisters' husbands, because they've been trying to fuck their sister for like 6-7 years or whatever they're like. You know, it's like social issues and shit like that become a bigger in society when society has less to worry about for basic survival. It's just a fact of how it is. You know, it's just like the whole thing that, like, once it seems to be the case that most of the time countries start worrying more about the environment once their GDP gets to a certain point. Once they're rich enough and they realize, oh shit, we better start worrying about the environment. They'll burn coal for fucking ever until they realize, oh shit, we better start worrying about the environment, because they're finally rich enough where they don't have to worry about where the next meal's coming from for majority of their people. But I mean, don't get me wrong, the Democrats having a problem, I'm digressing a lot here, the Democrats having a problem in the next election have a lot to do with a lot of the bullshit that they've been pushing out. It's not just the economy and their lack of understanding of it, and their lack of actually trying to control it. It's not just that, but they're in charge right now, and if they're not doing anything to help it, the basic people out there, like the basic independents especially, are going to flip against them and be like, nah, you're good, dude. We want someone in here that's actually going to do something to help us out. So, but I mean, on top of that, it's like this is the Republicans that have been actually championing education. You know, making sure kids aren't indoctrinated. Oh shit! I dropped the phone. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, we good. But yeah, it's like it's the Republicans that have been like championing education and trying to keep kids from being indoctrinated to either feel guilty that they're white all the time or just hate other races because they're not white, whatever. You know, it's been the Republicans that have been like saying, no, we don't need to spend this much. We need to trim back so that we can help keep inflation down. And don't get me wrong, I don't think printing money is necessarily the only reason there's inflation happening. I think there's a lot of other demand aspects to it too, because there's other countries like Japan that gave out more stimulus to their people during the pandemic than any other country, including America, and they're actually in a deflationary period right now for some reason. So, I think it has more to it than just straight up, we printed a lot of money, so here comes the inflation rounds, And it's definitely a contributor, but it's not as big of a contributor as one might think. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see. I don't. I'd like to think, and don't get me wrong, it's like I'm not a pure Republican. I have a lot of. I guess you call them lefty stances on things, but it's like the core of my being, I guess, is kind of Republican, just considering I believe in personal responsibility and, more conservative framework to how society works. It's not, I don't like to put the label on myself that, oh yeah, I'm this political party or something. I'm more centrist than anything else. But that being said, sorry, I'm coming up to the train tracks, and I want to make sure I beat this train, because there's always a train that comes through about 2:30 in the morning, and it's 2:29, so it looks like I beat it. All right. But I don't know. I don't. Like I say, I don't say. I'd like to. I'm not a pure Republican, but I'd love to see a complete red tsunami. I'd love to see most of the Democrats lose their positions completely, and just the crying that they're all going to go through for like 2 years after that. Because, I'd love to see that. Just because of how some of them fucking act. Some of them that are in these areas that, like that one fucking senator that got beat by the truck driver, the Republican truck driver or whatever, I think it was. It's either a trucker or a biker. He got beat with him, and he barely did any campaigning because people were just sick of the Democratic shit. The dude didn't concede the election for like, what was it, like a week and a half or something like that. He just could not believe that he got beat by a Republican in his area, because it's normally a solid blue area. And it's like, oh shit. So, I don't know. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see a wave of shit happening like that. Not to say that I think the Republicans are going to do anything, because I really don't think they are. That's the problem. The definition of being a conservative is to conserve. So you're saving, you're keeping things as they are, you know? Like, if the Republicans were going to match the Democrats on what kind of legislation they put forth, they'd be like pushing bills through Congress for, you know, nationwide open carry on guns, or, you know, everybody gets a gun, you know, light up and get a gun, you know, that type of thing. Like if realistically, Republicans, they don't really do that much. They never really do that much. They just kind of like, well, this is how things are, and they're good how they are. Like, we're all pretty satisfied with how things are right now. You know, I mean, that's part of the reason, is because, you know, new Republicans, they are born and raised, and they're raised in certain areas. It's like me. It's like part of why I can't be a pure Republican is like, and the Republican Party is changing, because now it's like they accept gay people, and they accept more different types of people than they used to not, because of religious dogma. But that's now the norm. You know what I mean? That's now an everyday thing, an everyday practice for Republicans. You know, 50 years ago, that wasn't the case. There was very strict conservatism toward the Bible. So, like, now I'm older, and I see how the Republican Party is changing, and they're conserving the values that America has now, which is fine, which is respectable, you know. You know, like, I grew up with you know, quite a few gay friends and some lesbian friends, and it sucked, you know, back in the 90s, watching them go through the shit that they went through, you know. And now it's like people are older, and they're more accepted, which is great. Keep that, you know. It's like, keep that strong, you know. Conserve that. And then the problem is like, the Democratic Party kind of like eats itself in that regard, because, like, say, even for women's rights, women got all these rights, and then now, you know, you have, you know, trans people that change from man to a woman, and they want all the benefits of being a woman when they didn't live through being a woman 100% throughout the beginning of their life, you know, which I understand some feminists' anger toward that. It's like, we just busted ass to get all this shit, and then a man comes in and does, just like the Caitlyn Jenner, or I think that was her name, turned into a woman, and like the first year she was a woman, she got Woman of the Year award. It's like, so a man can be the best Woman of the Year easier? I mean, does that make any sense? How many women did that screw over? That, you know, like, a woman should have got that. Not to say anything bad about people that are trans, but it's like, if you didn't have to live with it your entire fucking life since birth, you got no fucking right to sit up on some fucking pedestal. You know what I mean? Some people have had a lot worse of a time. You know, if you get in your 30s and you're like, well, I feel like being a woman. Well, you've had it relatively better in some aspects being a man up until that point. You know, not to say it was the best, because both genders get mistreated for different reasons and different things. But the same ways a woman got mistreated is not how you would have been mistreated as a man. You know, you have the experience, the life experience growing up as being a man, and then you switch to being a woman once you're an adult, and now realistically what you're going through is any oppression that you go through is the oppression of the fact that you just changed genders. You know, having the problem of having to tell the person that you're dating, like, early on, to be respectful and stuff like that. There's all kinds of hardships that go along with that, none of which are uniquely female. You know what I mean? So it's a weird dichotomy how that works. Anyway, I'm going off on weird tangents and shit like that. And that's about the time that I know that I need to shut up about it. I am here at my truck, so I am gonna get off of here and start my day. Lovely Mondays. I got to do my ordering after work, so I'm gonna be sitting in my truck for like 2 hours pushing buttons. Fucking hooray. So y'all have a good day, and like the thing, or if you like hearing people bitch about random shit, just tell your friends about me. This cow motherfucker is weird. I always say I come at things from the perspective of somebody that's a working class person that's always struggled throughout their life. I don't have to struggle as much now, but still, I'm just coming out of that, and I'm never going to change my, how I think about life. I'm never going to change that. I've been 38 years of being poor. I'm not going to change that now, even if I am making enough money to not feel poor anymore. So it's like I'm always going to attack viewpoints in society and politics from that aspect, because I know so many people that have worked like in retail, especially, that are always at the bottom of the barrel. So, but either way, I do this for them. I do this for you guys. So, cheers and stay frosty.